Alrighty, so week 13. And in RL, real life, the life I'm living, it is actually the week we get back from spring break. And I want to tell you something that happened after break, meaning yesterday on Monday. So a couple of you were putting messages out on Discord that the week that was after spring break, the week, we finish 11 and then 12 is due the week after, wasn't available to them. And I was like, I looked and I looked and it's like, no, it is available. It's just maybe not having an understanding or maybe, and I thought, and of course what I did is I thought it was the students' fault that they were just weren't remembering that our class, each module is a prerequisite, meaning you have to complete the previous module. Like, so to get to week 12, you have to complete all the items in week 11. So I was like, no. And I even found a way to show the individual folks who were saying it wasn't. And I was just like, no, this has got to be something else. I sent a message out to our tech support. And after a little while, I looked closer and I realized it was me, that I made the mistake. So, we're all human and we make a mistake. So I thought this might be a good opportunity just to remind us of the way the class works. Because if you ever run into this, right, it is good. It's good. And I appreciate those who are posting it out on Discord. That's a wonderful way. And hopefully you feel, especially if I'm here seeing those, like it's not at midnight when I would be asleep and this was during the day. So I want to show you. So for week 13 that I'm talking about today, I haven't published it. All right. So which means that you, even if you were still in week 11, you will see week 13, but you can't get to it because you haven't completed the weeks prior. So that's what I was talking about, which is I enforce students to sequentially move through my class. But I do want to show you kind of the, what happens, how I do this. So what I do is, of course, there's the start here. And, the idea of the start here is really giving you an overview of what you're going to do this week. And really just also, not really, it's also your attendance, just FYI. So when this campus asks me for attendance at the end of the semester, I pull all of your replies to that, and then that's how I show attendance. And I think many of you, some of you just say, hey, thank you very much, right? Because it's not part of your grade, right? As long as you're replying. But I appreciate those that give me more feedback or maybe have questions that I can answer. So that's great. So let me show you what I do. So now that I'm going to release this week, I come into this and this is called a module. Again, you don't need to know this. This is just the way Canvas is set up. But I thought, it's good to know. So a prereq is meaning in order for you to get into this week, you have to have completed week 12. And in order for you to move on from this week, you have to complete all these items. You have to view the attendance. You have to contribute to the discussion. You have to complete the quiz, and you have to complete the Access 4. Okay? So a couple things about that now that we're sitting here. The one thing about our discussions, besides at least one reply required, is that all the writing needs to be in narrative style. I read this morning your week 11, the password and security post, and it was just so good. And it was like some of you had some data breaches. Some of you, when you checked your password, you realized they weren't strong. That's great. Some of you considered the service that was out there. I wasn't plugging it, nor was Brian. But there are services that do some of that password stuff. So more importantly, of course, all that's important. Remember, how you're graded is that you write in narrative style and you do a reply. So the other thing about this week is this is our last week of Access. And I'll just say this again. I think I said it in week 13. Sorry, this is week 13. I think I said it in week 12, is that remember, especially for Mac students or everyone, and this is actually what I want in your reply for this, is do you please confirm if you have Microsoft Access loaded on your local system, because you're going to need that for next week. And I want you to have this week to find out, how to. Now, if you're on Windows, it's pretty easy. You just go, and if you want to go back up and find the video where I went over that, I think I talked about that last week as well. And I showed you actually how to go to my YouTube channel and how to find it. So you want to make sure, right? So your reply to this one, I want you to tell me, do you have Microsoft Access loaded on your local system? That requires you to go into your local system, do a search of your apps. You may have gotten it when you installed Microsoft Office from the FCC email login. But if you didn't, now's the time to get it. Okay, but anyway, back to this. So this is what I do. So I update the module, okay? And then when I publish it, right, it gives me a little message. But now, if you have worked through week 12, you will now see this available for you to start working on, but you have to have completed all those items. So just FYI, what I had done wrong is I made one of the supplemental videos, which by the way, I think are great. And I really suggest you watch them because I think they help you better understand the discussion, which this week is a really good one. Very, very relevant to almost most things in our world that I think professionally and just as students and as people is how to find data that helps you make informed decisions, right? So this time we're going to focus on using data to select the class, and we're going to give you a couple of websites to look at. Remember, again, this is narrative writing style. So you want to answer the questions that are posed in your narrative style. Don't post the questions. That's always a flag to me. But, and the idea though of big data, and one of the growing professions that as you work with access and as we get to the lab tests for access, but just using and understanding these concepts of data, a really popular, fast growing profession is called a data scientist. And this is somebody who works with data, helping companies analyze it, helping to gather the data and give companies the information, right? So the data is the raw transactional kind of data. And then it helps either individuals or companies or governments or somewhere in between. Like if you have good data that shows you, like one of the ways I use data. So I track my sleep every night. And so that data, as it is accumulating, I can really see based on what I do during the day, how it affects my sleep, right? What I eat, how I exercise, how much I sit. I mean, there's just things I think about that go into the quality of my sleep. And the more I track it, then the more I understand it. And so, just think about all the different areas in your life that data could help you make better decisions. And anyway, and I just think this is, and the idea of where do we get the data, the open data here, I'm looking at it, how data will transform business. It's phenomenal, right? I mean, the sales is like the one we think about the most when a company is looking at their sales and understanding their cycles, understanding their trends, understanding also their sales related to their profit. Like I'm selling this, but this much X amount of sales, which items are popular, which then also have an understanding of the profit of those items and profitability overall. Because it's one thing to make money, it's another thing to make sure you're making a profit so that you can sustain that business. So data is used, and imagine the campus. I mean, our campus has a huge data trove of both the students that take our classes, the outcome of those classes. I mean, I could go on and on about the amount of data in our world. It's actually sometimes overwhelming to think about it, but at least having an understanding. Because the thing is, you're learning some database. So what we really want you to understand is the larger context of how these databases are used. So that's this week. Okay. In your reply, let me repeat what I want to know. And anything else, if you want to reply to anything else, but make sure in your reply, this is how I will know if you watched it, is do you have Microsoft Access load it on your system because you're going to need it next week. So you can say, yes, I have it, or no, I need to go get it. Or if you might say, Rio, I'm on a Mac, I can't install it. And I'll go, oh, no, you can. You just have to go through that process and the process of loading Windows on your Mac and then loading Access in there. I hope you don't wait till next week to do that if you're on a Mac. Oh, or you may just want to find an alternative location. All right. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.